What if I told you that everything, or almost everything, you thought you knew about eye movements and lying was wrong? Oh, you've heard it. Quote,
if they look up and to their right, they're lying.
End quote. Or, quote,
if they look up to their left, they're telling you the truth.
End quote. Yeah, it's all over YouTube and TikTok and even some corporate training rooms. They even put it on tests. But here is the problem. If you are in sales, leadership, law enforcement, coaching, or simply trying to read people better, and you're using this old trick, you're not reading truth. You're reading TikTok pseudoscience that's not backed up by other scientists. And worse, you might be mislabeling honest people and letting actual liars off the hook. Today, I'm going to bust the myth wide open and show you where this idea really came from and what the science actually says and how to use eye movements the right way to become more persuasive, more trusted, build that rapport, and more powerful in every conversation. Let's go.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my podcast today in the driver's seat with me, Janine Driver.
Are you ready for one of the coolest podcasts on the web? Janine Driver, she's an expert on body language, persuasion, emotional intelligence, decision-making hack. This is In the Driver's Seat with Janine Driver.
Where the eye movement theory came from. This whole thing started back in the 1970s. I was born in 70. With a psychological model called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP. Neuro is the brain, linguistic is language, and programming is our map of the world. The idea is that our eyes move in different directions depending on how we think. True. Some of this, not true. Up and to our left, the person's left who's talking is recalling a visual memory. Up to the person's right, if I'm talking, is constructing a visual image. Where is it? Sideways to our ears, auditory processing.
I hear you. That sounds good.
Thinking through sound. Down right is emotion. Down left is self-talk. And it's true-ish for most right-handed people in low-stakes settings. It's one of the tools Tony Robbins often uses to help clients visualize goals. Therapists use it to understand emotional triggers for people. Heck, even President Barack Obama uses subtle pacing and visual access cues to connect deeply with us, his audience. So yes, eye movements can reveal what part of the brain someone is accessing. But where this went sideways is when people turned it into a lie detecting hack.
Hey, if they look up and to the right, they must be making it up. Yeah, they're lying if their eyes go up or right.
Yeah. That's not science. That's junk food for your brain. I remember back in the 90s, I went on a date. I was living in Connecticut at the time, and I went on a date with a lawyer. We went to the Outback Steakhouse, one of my favorites. Nothing fancy, but it's predictable, and I like it. The sweet potatoes, dynamite with that steak, Victoria filet. Bring it on. Medium well. All right, my ADD has taken over. And we place our order, and we're small talking, and this guy says to me,
so do you have any siblings?
I go, yeah, I'm the oldest of 3 sisters. Well, evidently, my eyes look to my upper right. And he goes,
no, you're not. You're lying. Your eyes went upper right. When people's eyes go upper right, they're lying.
Now, meanwhile, I work in law enforcement at this time, federal law enforcement. I'd already been trained about neuro-linguistic programming and eye movements. I have no idea why my eyes went upper right to gather that information. Maybe one of my sisters was thinking of visiting and I wasn't sure if she was going to come or not. Maybe there was some type of uncertainty there. And I was visualizing in the future because my sister Carrie, who's a year younger, would come and visit every couple weeks. I don't know. For some reason, I went upper right. But I was telling the truth. Why would I lie about having 2 younger sisters? This makes no sense. And this is when I began to explore, can we use eye movements for detecting deception? Sidebar, I excused myself, went to the bathroom. I literally walked out through the kitchen because they didn't have a back door back at the time. And I said, I got to go. And I walked home 1/4 mile and totally left that date. Today, I would just say, yeah, this isn't working out. I'm out of here. This is where I began to explore, can we use eye movement to detect deception? And that's what we're going to talk about here. This is where I discovered Dr. Paul Ekman and Dr. Mark Frank. Let's bring in these big guns, shall we? Dr. Mark Frank. He is a professor at the University of Buffalo. I don't know if he's still there, but his specialty is deception research. He's a former student of Dr. Paul Ekman, you know him, the godfather of microexpression science. Dr. Frank has studied real liars in prison, in interrogation rooms, and in high-stakes interviews. And guess what? There is no reliable connection between eye direction and deception. None. It's cute. I wish it was accurate. It is cute, but there's none. In fact, when people lie, they're often hyper-controlled. They rehearse, they freeze, they try to manage their body to appear calm. The eyes, they're not giving you a GPS pin to liar, liar, pants on fire. Especially if they've memorized the lie, they're just going to go back to memory. Let's break this up with a common example. Let me ask you this. If I said, describe your mother's face, you might look up and to your right. Well, the everyday person who's trained in NLP will say, well, you're a liar, right? Because that's what NLP, the model, will say. Many people say,
You're constructing, Janine, so therefore you're lying.
but in truth, maybe when I say describe your mother's face, you've never seen your mother's face just floating in air before. So your brain has to reconstruct it. That's not lying. That's creative recall happening at the same time. If you use this model alone in court or in a pitch or in a coaching session, you could ruin someone's credibility or your own. Let's have some fun. Lie to me. Remember that show? It made microexpressions famous. It had some amazing insights, but even Dr. Paul Ekman, who inspired that show, has said, quote,
Eye direction isn't the key to lie detection. Clusters are.
End quote. I've personally been trained by Dr. Paul Ekman. I had trouble with the difference between surprise and fear. We're not talking about microexpressions today, but in our next podcast, I will go over the 7 universal emotions: happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, anger, contempt, and disgust. Surprise and fear are very similar because the eyebrows go up in both, but in one they're curved and in the other they're straight. And the mouth opens in both, but in one it's taut and in one it's relaxed and more oval. We'll explore that in our next session of In the Driver's Seat with me, Janine Driver. Bottom line is, eye direction is not the key to lie detection. Clusters are. Think about that movie, The Dark Knight. The Joker never looks away. He stares straight at Batman. Does that mean he's honest? Yeah, let me think about it. No. He's a psychopath with zero fear. Eye contact does not equal truth. But here's a great one. Remember The Usual Suspects? Kevin Spacey's character, Kaiser Sose? He builds a whole fake story using visual construction, looking around the room where he's interrogated. But what makes him dangerous isn't where he looks when he gives the answer. It's how smooth he is, how the story is a little too clean. That's the real tell, not where his eyes go to gather the information. Now, if you love NLP and eye movement, stay with me because we're going to talk about the benefits of it. Because eye movements can tell you something. Here's what you should do with regard to eye movements. They're good for understanding how someone is processing.
Is this person a visual thinker? Do they look up? Are they auditory thinkers? Do they look side to side to their ears? Are they kinesthetic and emotional people? Do they look downright? I always think downright angry.
This is gold in sales because it builds rapport and trust.
What do you see when you picture yourself using this product?
You would say to the visual person. What do you hear? How does this sound to the auditory person? In coaching,
What comes up for you when you imagine changing that habit?
comes up as very kinesthetic. In leadership,
Walk me through your thought process during that meeting.
again, for the kinesthetic learner, the person who often looks downright. I'm in that category. You're not reading lies. You're reading how they think, which makes you a more empathetic, powerful communicator. I see what you're saying. I can picture it versus how does that sound? Hear me out versus get a hold of this. Grasp this concept. Do you get it? Kinesthetic. So here's your power takeaway. Eye movement is a clue, not a verdict. It's not about catching lies. It's about catching how people think to build that rapport and trust. Watch for clusters of information with body language to get someone's baseline. Use your intuition, but pair it with some science. Because the truth, it's not just in the eyes. It's in the pauses, the language, statement analysis, analysis, the tension. And when you know how to read all of it, which you're learning here in the driver's seat with me, Janine Driver, you'll always be in the driver's seat. Tag me over at Instagram at New Body Language, or check me out on TikTok at Janine Driver, and tell me what you notice in your next sales meeting or call or family dinner. And be sure to like and follow my podcast and tell other people to watch or listen. I am over on YouTube and your favorite podcast channel. My name's Janine Driver. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to In the Driver's Seat with Janine Driver. Use these insights to make your life easier and relationships stronger. Remember, you matter and belong, and you're not alone on this journey. Until next time, keep driving forward. Bye now.